One asks, what is the biblical basis for this doctrine? Three texts often are cited by the Church Fathers. 2 Peter 1:4, which mentions partaking of the divine nature. Psalm 82:6, which says, "Behold, you are God, sons of the Most High, all of you." And 1 John 3:2, which speaks of the redeemed becoming like Christ when he returns. But the biblical basis for the doctrine is really much broader than these three proof texts. It has to do with the whole economy of salvation. And it begins really in the opening chapters of Genesis, which talks about God creating humanity in his image and in his likeness in order to have dominion over the earth. We see it in texts like Psalm 8, which talk about human beings being made to not just have dominion, but to be crowned with glory and honor, to have all things subject to them, hinting at even the angels being subject to human beings. The author of Hebrews, for example, will take that text and apply it to Jesus and say that, in effect, Jesus is the first human being to fully exemplify what it is that God intended for his human creatures to be. We also see this in notions of enthronement. So Revelation will apply to the redeemed some very astonishing things that it also applies to the risen and ascended Jesus. Things like this. In Revelation 2, our author says that to him who overcomes, I will give him the rod of iron with which to rule the nations, which a few chapters later he applies to Jesus. And this is coming from a messianic psalm. A little bit later in chapter 3, he'll say, to him who overcomes, I will grant him to sit on my throne, as my Father granted me to sit on his throne. And this is a pretty powerful image. The throne of God sitting at his right hand. We have the incarnate, ascended Jesus and the redeemed. And these images seem to point to a vision of the eternal state that is not passive, but one in which the redeemed are involved in significant work, ruling and reigning over the vast cosmic order that God has made. And that seems to be what the biblical narrative as a whole is pointing towards in its vision of human redemption. That we are to resemble God in some way, to be his physical likeness and image in the created order, to exercise rule, to reign with Christ, as redeemed humanity over a redeemed cosmos. And there's a lot there that Scripture does not tell us about, a lot of questions that arise, but it gives us glimpses and hints of a fabulous future, and one that is anything but boring. Right? Certainly not the sit on a cloud and strum a harp and think, boy, I guess this is a little bit better than hell vision that so many have.